Hey, welcome to World Code Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The news broke on a crisp Tokyo morning, as the city was just waking up to the first light of day. It flashed across screens worldwide. Japan explores BRICS membership dialogue, a headline that would soon dominate global discussions. For decades, Japan was the anchor of American strategy in Asia, a loyal partner, bound by treaty and trade, a steadfast ally in a complex region. The idea of Tokyo even considering talks with BRICS, a bloc seen as a counterweight to the West, was unthinkable, until now, when global dynamics began to shift. This wasn't a formal application, but a carefully worded leak, a trial balloon to gauge global reaction, a strategic move in the game of international diplomacy. The impact was immediate. The yen fluctuated, markets paused, and investors held their breath, waiting for the next move. In Washington, officials scrambled for answers, trying to decipher Japan's intentions and the potential implications for U.S. foreign policy. Was this a genuine policy shift or a negotiating tactic? Analysts debated the possibilities, each theory more intriguing than the last. The question itself revealed a new reality, one where old alliances were no longer guaranteed and new ones could emerge at any moment. The alliances that defined global politics for generations were no longer guaranteed, as nations reconsidered their positions in a rapidly changing world. In the Japanese Diet, opposition leaders demanded clarity. They sought answers to questions that could redefine Japan's role on the world stage. Officials offered only vague statements about Japan's economic security, leaving much to speculation and interpretation. This ambiguity was the point, a message to both the Japanese public and its oldest ally, signaling a potential shift in Japan's foreign policy. Japan was signaling its foreign policy could no longer be taken for granted, hinting at a future where it might forge its own path. The post-Cold War era of American unipolarity was truly over, as new power dynamics began to take shape. For many Japanese, the headline was a dramatic climax to years of quiet strategic rethinking, a moment that captured the nation's evolving identity and aspirations. To truly grasp the shock of recent developments, we must look back at the origins of this alliance. For over 70 years, the US-Japan alliance has stood as one of the world's most stable and enduring relationships, a cornerstone of international diplomacy. Born from the ashes of World War II's aftermath, this alliance transformed Japan into America's key partner in Asia, fostering peace and cooperation. Under the protective U.S. security umbrella, Japan rebuilt itself into an economic powerhouse, showcasing resilience and innovation. The alliance was more than just military. It encompassed trade, culture, and shared values, creating a deep bond between the two nations. Japan's foreign policy was almost always aligned with Washington's, reflecting a mutual understanding and shared strategic goals. During the tense years of the Cold War, Japan stood firmly with the West, acting as a steadfast ally. In the G7, it was a reliable voice advocating for the liberal order, promoting stability and cooperation. The US gained a stable and strategic base in Asia, crucial for its military and political interests. Japan, in turn, received security assurances and experienced significant economic growth, becoming a global economic leader. Economic ties ran deep. Japan's exports, from electronics to automobiles, filled American homes, symbolizing mutual prosperity, and Japanese investment flowed into the US, creating jobs and fostering economic interdependence. This interdependence felt permanent and unshakable. The idea of Japan seeking new partners, especially with America's rivals, was once unthinkable, a notion that seemed far-fetched. Now even the mere suggestion signals a profound reassessment of Japan's place in the world, reflecting changing global dynamics. It's not about abandoning an old friend, but rather hedging bets in an unpredictable era, ensuring Japan's future security and prosperity. The seeds of this shift were planted during America's turn toward protectionism. The America First doctrine shook Tokyo, casting doubt on the economic partnership Japan relied on. The US withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, leaving Japan standing alone on free trade. Tariffs on steel and aluminum hit Japanese industries hard, justified by national security. Suddenly, Japanese companies faced uncertainty and rising costs. The trust that underpinned the alliance began to erode. Japan realized even close allies could prioritize domestic politics over partnerships. The US became a disruptor of global trade, not its champion. Japan's leaders concluded that relying on a single partner was a vulnerability. Quietly, Japan began searching for new ways to secure its future. Japan didn't panic, it adapted. After the US left the TPP, Japan revived it as the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. This showed Japan could lead on free trade, not just follow. Japan also struck a massive trade deal with the European Union, creating one of the world's largest open economic zones. It was a strategic move, diversifying trade away from North America. Japan built a network of alliances independent of Washington's approval. Security and economic ties with India, ASEAN, and Australia deepened. Japan was weaving a web of relationships to avoid isolation. These moves laid the groundwork for considering BRICS. With new confidence, Japan could now explore unconventional options. The Quiet Rebellion was becoming a bold new foreign policy. To understand Japan's interest, we must understand BRICS. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, began as an investment concept, now a political bloc. It's not a military alliance or an economic union, but a forum for emerging powers to coordinate and seek a greater voice in global governance. BRICS challenges Western-led institutions like the IMF and World Bank. The new development bank funds infrastructure in developing countries, offering alternatives to Western lenders. The group is diverse: democracies, authoritarian states, and hybrid regimes. Together, BRICS nations represent over 40% of the world's population and a growing share of global GDP. Recent expansion: Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, has increased its weight. BRICS is becoming a major platform for the global south. For Japan, joining could offer new perspectives and opportunities. The reasons behind Japan potentially joining BRICS are complex, spanning economic, political, and strategic dimensions that are deeply intertwined. Economically, BRICS Plus represents a massive, fast-growing market, uniting some of the world's most important energy producers and consumers. This bloc is increasingly influential in global trade, investment, and resource flows. For export-driven Japan, gaining and maintaining access to these emerging markets is absolutely vital, especially as traditional Western markets become more competitive or even less accessible due to shifting alliances and economic slowdowns. Politically, BRICS offers Japan a seat at the table where the future of the global south is being shaped, allowing it to participate in key decisions that affect global governance. Inside BRICS, Japan could work to balance China's growing influence by building strong coalitions with other major members like India and Brazil, creating new diplomatic partnerships. This would open up a new arena for Japanese diplomacy, reducing its reliance on the US and giving it more flexibility in international affairs. Symbolically, joining BRICS would signal a more independent, assertive, and Asian-focused foreign policy for Japan, reflecting its evolving national interests. By joining, Japan could reposition itself as a crucial bridge between the West and the global South, facilitating dialogue and cooperation across continents. This move would enhance Japan's diplomatic influence and global prestige, raising its profile on the world stage. Economic security is national security. BRICS Plus nations control vital resources like energy, minerals, and food supplies that are essential for Japan's stability. By forging stronger ties, Japan could better secure reliable access to energy, food, and raw materials, reducing its exposure to global supply shocks. Ultimately, it's a pragmatic move. Joining BRICS could help Japan reduce vulnerabilities and adapt to a world where trade, politics, and alliances are increasingly fragmented and unpredictable. This pivot carries enormous risks, the biggest alienating the US, Japan's key ally. Washington could see a BRICS move as betrayal, jeopardizing the security treaty. Japan could be left exposed in a tough neighborhood. Within BRICS, Japan would face a balancing act. Trusted by neither side, caught in the middle. But the rewards are significant: new markets, secure supply chains, and greater diplomatic leverage. Japan could become a global swing state, courted by both West and global South. Success depends on Japan's diplomatic skill, reassuring the US and building trust with BRICS. If Japan walks this tightrope, it could redefine its global role. If not, the consequences could be dire. Japan's BRICS move is more than a foreign policy story. It's a sign of a world in flux. The old Cold War blocs are gone, American unipolarity is over. We're entering a multipolar era where nations act on pragmatic interests, not ideology. Countries like India, Brazil, and Turkey practice multi-alignment. Security with the US, trade with China, politics with Russia. Japan is signaling it wants to join this club of autonomous players. Influence now comes from network position, not just military or economic might. Middle powers gain leverage by connecting with multiple blocks. The result, a less predictable but more balanced world. Multiple centers of power prevent any single nation from dominating, but the risk of miscalculation rises in this complex landscape. Japan's journey will reveal much about the opportunities and dangers of this new world. Japan's flirtation with BRICS marks the dawn of strategic improvisation. The era of fixed alliances is ending. Now, nations build flexible partnerships, adapting constantly. Survival demands nimbleness and creativity. Japan's leaders know they can't rely on a single relationship anymore. They must engage everywhere, building bridges and staying flexible. This isn't disloyalty, it's prudence. The shift isn't unique to Japan. Europe, the Middle East and Africa are all improvising. The old script is gone. Every country writes its own lines. What Japan does next will be a landmark decision. Whether it joins BRICS or uses the threat for leverage, its actions reflect a global truth. The 21st century belongs to those who improvise, and Japan may be about to make its boldest move yet.